I live in an apartment building for people in supernatural danger. Nobody should knock on Mrs. Ariadne's door. Written by Agent Decrypted Lev. Part 2. My name is Cleona. It's a dumb name, but get over it now, because everything in my life is a little dumb. Today's tale isn't about me, however. It's about my neighbour across the hall, and how she has the world's worst magical ex. I was thinking about explaining my danger or any of the other people I've mentioned in passing, but after what happened recently, I think I'm more inspired to write about her. Miss Ariadne seems like your average Bible-thumping, 50-something-year-old divorced woman when you first meet her. She thinks beige is the only colour of clothes that exists, and really hates animals for some reason. I don't like Mrs. Ariadne, but even I'm not going to be knocking on her door. I'd hate to scare the poor girl like that. She's a mean old lady who said my pride flag would put the mark of the devil in our building. But she does have a lot of fear. The knocker is what we call him, simply because that's what he does. Before he moved in, there were 3 different people who would have to put up precautions if we saw a cloaked figure walk in. But now that my danger sense lets me know when the knocker is going to arrive, Mrs. Ariadne is a lot safer. She never thanks me for warning her, by the way. She's just rude to everyone. I'll explain the backstory to the knocker. He's Mrs. Ariadne's ex-husband in some kind of spirit form. Miss Ariadne married him because he claimed to be a man of God, and Miss Ariadne is extremely religious. I normally don't mind religious people, my parents are Catholic, but she made Rue cry for being quote-unquote demonic, so in her case, I do mind. I'm getting off track. Anyway, she married this guy and they had 2 baby boys. Around the time their eldest turned 16, she found out that her husband isn't a super Christian, but instead in some sort of kooky cult that sacrifices wild animals to the bear god. I don't know details on what bear god it is. According to Miss Ariadne, it's the devil's bear god, but she also calls cartoons the devil's TV, so she's not a good source on this information. She divorced him as fast as possible, but according to her husband, they are still married by blood? So he's just some weirdo who never moves on. He also straight up murdered Mrs. Ariadne's kids. Yep, he sacrificed them to his god and then sacrificed himself, all to get revenge on Mrs. Ariadne. But doing that fire ritual once a year on a random day, he'll come to her apartment and try to get inside and burn her to cleanse her with holy flame. First he knocks on the door, then he pounds on her door, then he screams at her to be let in, then he tries to open the door, and then finally he tries to pull the door off its hinges. Last year I was sick of the noise, so I went out to try to get him to leave early. Rue wasn't very happy with me. Hey dude, could you leave? She's not gonna let you in, man. Just go. You're bothering everyone. He turned and looked at me in a very fluid movement. Besides a couple of burn scars, his face looked quite normal, maybe 40 years old, blue eyes, blonde hair. Whenever I tried to talk to my few normal friends about the assorted monsters and angry spirits and such that attack the residents here, they always expect them to be horribly disfigured or absolutely terrifying and ugly. But the humanoid ones often look like normal people. I guess that's one of those flaws about humans that make us such petty creatures. We want every bad thing to look bad, but that's not true. Anyway, you didn't come here to listen to me preach about the nature of humanity, so I'll continue with the scary supernatural stuff. After he turned to look at me with his very normal face, he grabbed my shoulders and got right into my face.
This doesn't concern you,
he yelled.
I only get 1 day a year to drag her back with me, and you won't ruin it.
I shoved him off of me, and he went back to yanking on the door and screaming at Mrs. Ariadne through the door.
We'll be a holy family again,
he yelled at the door.
Just let me come in, and you will be cleansed of sin like Matthew, Luke, and I.
Yeah, this dude is bonkers. I tried yet again to get him to stop, this time by kicking him in the stomach. I know that probably sounds like a super stupid idea, but most dangers I've encountered are very specific to that person. My danger can only kill me, my cat, or anyone who was born in my childhood home. Again, I promise to explain in more detail next time. So I kicked this loser in the stomach and he shoved me over and went back to slamming on the door. You guys are gonna enjoy the next part. After I moved my bangs out of my face, I looked up to see Rue came out of our apartment, probably making sure I didn't do anything stupid, she knows me well. When she saw me on the ground and Knocker being very aggressive about trying to get in, she went and yelled at him for a good 20 or so minutes. Rue is a really short and thin girl. Her orange hair would hardly peek out above a crowd of 4th graders. Despite her kind nature and general tininess, if you get her angry, she is terrifying. So she started yelling at Knocker, chewing him out for literally everything, from his inability to move on, status as a murderer, and even little things like the fact he tracked Ash down the hall. While the supernatural vengeance spirit was flabbergasted at how intimidating this, at the time, 22-year-old girl was, she marched right up to him, grabbed his arm, and sliced his pinky finger right off with her trusty knife. He left early that year. We would have tried to pull something similar this year, but this year he was on fire, literally. The fire wasn't burning the ugly brown carpet in the hallways, singeing the beige paint on the walls, or spreading beyond him at all, but when he knocked on Mrs. Ariadne's door, he scorched it. I don't know why, but I'm pretty sure he controls what burns and what doesn't. Rue went out and yelled at him for an hour or so, but she stayed in our doorway, keeping her distance from the fiery man. Mrs. Ariadne hasn't left her apartment in months, with the pandemic going on, so she has spent the time reinforcing her door, so thankfully she stayed safe and he eventually left. I didn't bother getting involved this year, besides warning her he was coming. I just watched anime in the living room. Rue told me I should have at least yelled at him to help make him move on faster, but I'm down a finger, and it's not like I owe Miss Ariadne anything. I only warn her when he's gonna come by so that she has no reason to open a window after 3 p.m, because that seems like the kind of thing she'd do to get rid of me and my sinful ways. I'll leave it at that, because my girlfriend is coming over today and I don't want to waste time by writing all day today. So,